Hello, Miss Jennifer. Did you get my envelope?
Hello, Mr. Trouble. If it's something that would be at the building, I will be there this afternoon after this meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Trouble.
Are we live now, Annette?
Hang on a minute.
Okay.
Okay, we are live and the chat is working. That's what I was waiting for. And there's Commissioner Majerick right there.
Perfect.
I'm gonna mute. So you don't hear any background noise.
Thank you, Annette. Mike, you want to call us to order and we'll get the meeting rolling?
Yeah, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Now, let me look. Excuse me, I just had the agenda up here and I lost it again. I can't believe this is happening a second time. Hold on a minute.
Mike, do you want us to help you along with the agenda?
Mike is on mute.
Yeah, you're still on mute, Mike.
Yeah, I'm having a tough time. I had it up, I was ready to go, and when I opened this up, it went away, and I don't know where it went. Hold on a minute, there's another one down here. I think I found it.
Okay.
All right. Can we do the roll call, Jennifer?
Freeling,
Present via Zoom, Baroda Township.
Klett,
I'm here via Zoom, Lincoln Township.
Majerick.
I'm here via Zoom, Niles, Michigan.
Is that city?
That's the city.
Okay. Meeks,
Present via Zoom, Ben Charter Township.
Vangenhoven.
Present via Zoom, Lincoln Charter Township.
Mr. Chairman, you have 5 present.
All right. Have anybody been able to look at the minutes?
I have, and I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of the meeting, March 11th, 2021 as written.
I'll second
Jennifer,
that.
did you get my suggestions? Jennifer?
Freeling,
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm sorry, Mike, you wanted the minutes, the correct location of Niles City and not Niles.
Yep.
Okay.
That's all.
I think everyone was aware of that.
Okay, go ahead.
Freeling, you're on mute.
Sorry, I was backwards. Yes.
Klett,
Yes.
Majerick,
Yes.
Meeks,
Yes.
Vangenhoven.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 5 yeas.
Okay. And do we have any correspondence? I did not see any.
We do have correspondence, but it pertains to the actual Brownfield plan.
Oh, that one.
So I'll talk. It's from Benton Charter Township, and I'll address it when we get to that point of the agenda.
Okay. Jennifer, do we have any public comments?
That would be Annette.
Oh, Annette. Yes.
Let me go out and check. It does not appear as though you have any public comments.
Okay. Moving forward, Mr. Fedde, would you talk about the budget?
I will, and I'm going to try to share my screen with you folks. So bear with me. I'm not good at this like Annette is. But let's see if we can pull this up.
You went away.
There we go. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Yes.
job.
Hey, look at that. Amazing. I made it work. This is our balance sheet at the beginning of the month of April. I'm going to go through some changes in this because we did receive some payments just this week that aren't reflected in this balance sheet. But you can see at the beginning of the month of April, we had $1,794,915.45. We do have one voucher payable, and that's for our annual audit of $4,600. Our unassigned fund balance, of course, we reserve out about $100,000 for revenue control every year, but realistically, our fund balance is essentially the same as our cash balance. Now, on Tuesday, we received our final tax increment revenue payment from the city of Benton Harbor to the tune of $52,497.79. So when you add it all up, our actual cash balance, including the payment we received this week and deducting the payment that we'll make on this voucher at the end of this week, or tomorrow, our actual cash balance is $1,842,813. Beginning next month, I will start processing the tax increment revenue payments to the various projects. Those payments will total $1,338,077.78. So by the end of May, when we've made all of our payments, we will have a cash balance and a true fund balance of $504,735.46. We go through this. I know every month I kind of go through this, but we always have to remember that we've received in money that we will then send out the door shortly. But it's very good news that by the end of May, we're still going to have over $500,000 of cash and fund balance available to us. Does anyone have any questions about that? We have no other approvals, no other bill approvals to make.
Yeah, and I'd just like to say a nice job. We have been in the red before, and now we're in the black. So thank you very much.
We're doing pretty well financially. We've talked about it in the past, and I think it's a good idea to leave a fair amount of that fund balance sitting out there just in case we need to participate. But we will start, as I mentioned at our last meeting, we're going to start the county budget process here, probably 8 weeks or so. Surprising we're that far along in the year already. At that point, I'll talk to the authority about whether or not we should draw some of that fund balance out and to cover administrative costs that we haven't paid for in the past. But that can be a discussion we can have this summer. So if there are no questions about that, we can move into the heart of the matter if you want, Mike, which is
Yep, let's go to the plan approval.
Well, Mark Seaman is here with us. You all know Mark. And Mark has been working on a development project for, quite a long time now. I've been aware of it and somewhat involved for over a year. But this is the project up on M63 and Enterprise Way that we've talked about a little bit over the past. We expected this project would have come to you last year, but with COVID, obviously, everything was seriously delayed. In any event, the project is now ready to move forward. This is, we call it the Harbor Woods Development Project. It's being developed by a company called M63 Investments, LLC. This is one of Bert Pearson's companies. I'm sure you all know Bert, either directly or through his business. And Bert's been working on this project now for quite some time. He's gotten full approvals from Benton Township to do the project, including the rezoning, the site plan approval. And he is asking for the county to do a brownfield plan to help offset some of the development costs that he'll have to incur to make this happen. As I mentioned during the discussion of correspondence, I received a letter from Benton Township's supervisor requesting that the county, Brownfield Authority, and the County Board of Commissioners consider participating in this and doing the brownfield plan on their behalf. As you know, the township generally defers to us to do brownfield plans in their community. So it's a nice project, and if you want, I am going to try this other screen share business here and see if I can jump in and give you a summary of what we're looking at with this project. All right. So as I said, we call this the Harbor Woods Brownfield Plan. I'm going to go through a description of the project, the site, the basis of eligibility, that is why it is a brownfield, and then what we refer to as the Section 13, subsection 1 requirements. These are those list of 12 or 14 requirements in the act that we have to consider before adopting a brownfield plan. So let me see if I can make this work. There we go. So this is a housing development project. M63 Investments is going to be the developer. This is, as I said, Bert Pearson's company. The proposed use of the property will be as a residential apartment housing complex. Specifically, it's going to be 10 residential buildings. Each building will contain 2 3-bedroom apartments and 2 2-bedroom apartments. So we're looking at 40 apartment units in total. It's going to be constructed along a new road that'll be cut in off of Enterprise Way and will be deeded for public use at the completion of the project. The anticipated development cost, not including the public infrastructure, but the actual private development cost, is going to be about $5 million in total. And that'll include putting in the new road, sewer, storm sewer, water, curb, gutter, as well as, you know, other minor improvements, lighting improvements, and so forth. There's also going to be a considerable, not considerable, but some cost involved in environmental remediation and ongoing due care activities on the site. So the brownfield plan is intended to support or defray some of those costs by providing tax increment financing assistance on both the environmental costs associated with it and the public infrastructure costs. Again, as I said, they're seeking tax increment reimbursement for eligible environmental costs and construction of new public infrastructure. As I just mentioned, the eligible activities are remediation of contaminated soils, documentation with due care compliance requirements, activities that have already been conducted on site, such as baseline environmental assessments, the drafting of the brownfield plan, and so forth. Because the project is located in a core community, this is Benton Township is considered a core community, and you'll recall in a core community, we can also use tax increment assistance to reimburse public infrastructure costs in addition to a pure environmental costs. So all told, we're looking at a portion of environmental and a large portion of public infrastructure. The total eligible costs for reimbursement, including interest cost of anticipated 4% per annum, works out to $1,112,300. That's what we think the maximum amount of reimbursable cost will be. The site, and I'll show you the property maps for it so you can see it shortly, but it's about 32 acres, 32 and a half acres. And it is right near the intersection of Enterprise Way and M63, just a little bit north of Gene Clock Park. It was used for farming purposes for, not surprisingly, most of the properties in that area were used for farming purposes for, more than a century. Cornerstone Alliance took an interest in the property at one point, and then eventually sold it to M63 Investments back in 2019. There are 2 unoccupied residential structures on the southwest portion, but the rest of the land is vacant woodland right now. And because those residential structures are unoccupied, we don't have to be concerned with relocation of existing residents, which can be a problem with the brownfield plan. So the site location, give you an idea. I don't know if I can even, maybe you can see my cursor here. That would be the old El Rico site right there off of Pawpaw. This would be M63. This would be the Pawpaw River coming south. And the site is right about here. This is an old site map because you see it doesn't even have Enterprise Way on it yet. But we'd be looking about equidistance between the St. Joe River and, say, the Whirlpool Global Headquarters up on M63. That's the basic location there. Again, give you an idea, this winding road right here is Enterprise Way, which was constructed, maybe 15 years ago. And here's M63. And the properties we're talking about, there's a large portion right here and the smaller portion abutting M63. This is the Benton Township Fire Station. I think that's Fire Station number 1, if that helps kind of orient you a little bit as to where we are.
Hey, Dan, where are the unoccupied homes on that map? Or do I see them right there on the lower left?
It's this little area right here.
Okay.
Old residential structures, and those will probably have to be demolished at some point.
Okay.
This is a site plan of what we'd be looking at, and you can see, you can actually see it better here, Lee. You can see a little bit of a residential unit right here. Yeah.
Yeah.
I noticed that none of the site development as it stands right now is going to affect that parcel of property. But what we're looking at is M63 Investments will cut in this new winding road that terminates in this roundabout or cul-de-sac. And then you can see the residential structures being constructed. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 running up the east side, and then 6 through 10 running down the west side. And as I said, each one of those structures will contain 4 apartment buildings. My recollection is that the larger 3-bedroom apartments are about 1,200 square feet, and the smaller 2-bedroom apartments, I believe, are about 700 or 750 square feet. So, I mean, they're sizable homes. It's certainly, about the size of the home that I live in. So they look like, the site designs I've seen look like they're going to be very nice kind of condominium complexes. The intention is to rent these for at least a 10-year period, after which they will then be sold off as condominium units. Okay, so the basis of eligibility, well, on the first parcel, there is concentrations of arsenic in excess of the requirements for residential cleanup. That would be the Section 17 requirements that we talk about, or the Part 213 requirements. And that makes it a facility, as we all remember. When you have certain contaminants in excess of a certain level, it becomes a facility, and a facility is therefore deemed eligible for inclusion in the Brownfield plan. The abutting parcel, because it abuts one that has existing contamination on it, by virtue of its adjacency, it also becomes a facility and therefore is eligible for inclusion in the Brownfield plan. And Prism Environmental within the Brownfield plan has attested to that eligibility. Now we'll get into the requirements that we have to go through, Section 13, and this is a summary of the activities that are going to be paid for with tax increment revenues. I apologize that it's so hard to read this, trying to fit it on the screen, but essentially what you see is we're looking at phase 1, phase 2, baseline environmental assessments, the crafting of the Brownfield plan, the delineation in response to impacted soils, some site survey, and structure demolition, a little bit of that, and mobilization. Then the rest of it basically involves as well as due care documentation. The rest of it involves the installation of the roadway, the water, sewer, storm sewer, curb, gutter, sidewalk, and so forth. The base amount of all these activities is $616,000. When we add in contingency, 4% and allowable interest carry, as well as the Brownfield Authority's annual administrative fee to run the plan. As I said, the total amount then comes out to $1,112,301. That is the limit of reimbursable activities. If M63 investments occurs cost greater than that, then they don't get reimbursed. Remember, the Brownfield plan it delineates the limit of reimbursable activities. This is really tough to read. I apologize for this, but this is the tax increment financing table that we include that shows how much tax increment revenue will be generated year on year. Since it's so hard to read, I'm going to kind of read it for you. We expect that when the project is fully constructed and fully leased out, it'll add about $2.6 million of taxable value to that site. That would be the incremental increase. Based on that increment, it'll start generating about $47,000 to $48,000 of tax increment revenue annually. This is local only, so we're not dealing with state educational taxes or school operating taxes. It's just the county general special taxes, LMC general special taxes, and Benton Township general and special taxes. So we start out with somewhere between $47,000 to $48,000 in tax increment revenue, increasing to about $58,000 per year by the end of the project. It'll probably take about 24 years to pay off in total, which is, that's what happens when you don't have school taxes. It takes a longer time to reimburse. Benton Township is aware of the duration of this plan, and they're in support of it nonetheless, and we're recommending that the county should support it as well.
Our normal payback period, Dan, in the 20-25 year range?
Yeah, obviously it depends on the size of the project and how much value it adds to the site, but most of our plans have gone 20 to 25 generally, but we rarely go beyond that. We've had some plans that have been very quick though, and those are the nice ones because you get them back on the books real fast. The method by which the cost of plan will be financed, well, we're not financing any of this. It's all privately financed. There are going to be no advances from the county or any other local units of government. It's all of the costs will be incurred by the developer directly. There's going to be no note or bonded indebtedness, either public or private. The duration of the plan, as we said, we expect it to be 24 years. Of course, what we put in the plan is 24 years or until all costs are paid off, assuming that it doesn't exceed the 30-year maximum amount allowable within the statute. And we will not be capturing in excess of the base eligible costs in order to fund the site remediation fund. The county has always declined to do that. As I said, I showed you the estimated impact to the taxing jurisdictions. In total, we'd be looking at just shy of $1.2 million of potential capture. For the purposes of Berrien County, it'll be about $390,000 over a 20-year period in deferred tax revenue to finance the plan. I've shown you the legal description, the location, site characteristics, and why it's eligible. And I'll make the final statement, which we have to make in any plan, is that personal property will not be included as part of the eligible investment here. We do that intentionally because personal property obviously depreciates out. And under certain recent changes in tax law, the depreciation of personal property tends to be accelerated now. So what happens is you add it in there, and then within 2 or 3 years, it's all depreciated out. And now you see a decline in your taxable value. So we generally avoid putting personal property in these plans. No persons or residents will be displaced or relocated from this property. And there is going to be no, as I said, no local site remediation fund associated with this project. The last thing I'll add is that, as I indicated, Benton Charter Township is supportive of the project. They have done the necessary rezoning and site approval through their planning commission and their board of trustees. And they've also, as I said, formally requested that this authority and the board of commissioners adopt this plan to assist with defraying the eligible cost of the development. So that's a lengthy explanation. It's not a terribly complex plan, but it's a nice project to see going on. It deals with a type of housing that I think the community increasingly sees a need for. 40 new units in the Benton Township area of decent, family housing is, even if, it is rental housing, but it still deals with an area of housing stock that we are in need of right now. And Mark is still on the line if you have any technical questions. Otherwise, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
I had 2 questions. The first one was consistent with the township's master plan. And okay, it was a great vacation, so I forgot if we did this in the planning commission. But I believe that's also consistent with the county's planning documents.
It is, and it's consistent with the township master plan. It was rezoned. It was originally zoned as R1, R2 back in, I don't know, maybe 2000 when Enterprise Way went through. Because if you're familiar with the neighborhood, on the other side of Enterprise Way is all of those subdivision cul-de-sacs that have been.
Right.
This property was then rezoned to commercial at the request of an attorney who was building a commercial facility out there.
Right.
And subsequently, that's being sold and reconverted into residential. So Bert went to the township and said, would you revert this zoning back to where it was originally, which was R1, R2?
Right.
And the planning commission did that as it was consistent with their master plan. So, I mean, this actually is it's a much better use of the property than some of the proposed commercial uses that we've seen in the past. It's more in keeping with the surrounding characteristics of that neighborhood.
My second question is relative to the resolution we're going to be asked to support here in a minute. In the whereas portion, there's 4 questions there, or 4 statements, A, B, C, and D. Mm-hmm. You covered B, C, and D in the presentation. What about this constitutes the public purpose of the project?
The public purpose of the project is that the project is being undertaken to develop infrastructure, public infrastructure, expand public utility systems, And the other public purpose is simply to add to the housing stock, which is something that's been needed in the community for a number of years now.
Okay.
The difference, Lee, would be like, we can't take public tax dollars and use it to pay a developer for private costs that are not a benefit to the community. In other words, if a developer asked us to pay for the actual construction of their rental home, that would
Right.
not be public purpose. But if they asked us to help pay for the public infrastructure or the remediation of the site, there is a public benefit to that.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions from anyone?
Lee asked several questions that I had on my list as well, so he beat me to the punch.
That'll be the first time.
Well, if there are no questions about it, just to remind you of the procedures here, what we would normally do is that the Brownfield Authority would pass a resolution recommending that the Board of Commissioners adopt this plan. The Board of Commissioners would hold a public hearing, accept public comments on the plan, after which then they would make a determination of whether to adopt the plan. If they did so, they would do it contingent upon the concurrent approval of the local unit. So then we'd have to go back to Benton Township and have Benton Township actually pass a resolution concurring the adoption of the plan. So this is the first of 3 steps we go through. If this board approves the resolution that's been presented to you, then we will have a public hearing scheduled and noticed and published for, I think we're going to publish it Saturday. And the public hearing before the board would be on April 22nd. And I imagine it'll be pretty brief.
Do you have the resolution made?
I do.
set, or-
I think I forwarded it to you, but if you want, Mike, I could read it, if that would be helpful.
Yeah, it would be.
Okay. I will read it to you then. It is Berrien County Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, resolution recommending approval of the Harbor Woods Brownfield Plan dated April 8th, 2021. Whereas the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, the authority of the County of Berrien County, pursuant to and in accordance with the provisions of the Brownfield Redevelopment Financing Act, being Act 381, Public Act of the State of Michigan of 1996 as amended, has reviewed the Harbor Woods Brownfield Plan pursuant to and in accordance with Section 13 of the Act. And whereas the authority has made the following determinations and findings: A, the plan constitutes a public purpose under the Act, and B, the plan meets all the requirements for a brownfield plan as set forth in Section 13 of the Act, and C, the cost of eligible activities proposed within the plan are reasonable and necessary to carry out the purposes of the Act, and D, the amount of captured tax value estimated to result from the adoption of this plan is reasonable. Now therefore be it resolved that the authority recommends the following. 1, that the Berrien County Board of Commissioners schedule and hold a public hearing in accordance with Sections 13 and 14 of the Act to consider adoption of this plan. 2, that after holding the public hearing, the Berrien County Board of Commissioners approve by resolution the adoption of this plan. 3, that Benton Charter Township concur by resolution with the Berrien County Board of Commissioners adoption of this plan. And that is it.
Do we have any motions?
I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution as included in the board packet and as read by Dan.
I'll
Any
second
second?
that.
Okay, approved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Well, since there is none, then can we have a roll call or a vote?
Freely.
Pardon?
Yes.
Klett,
Yes.
Majerick,
Yes.
Meeks. Oh, he left the meeting?
Yeah, he had to leave early. He had
Oh,
told us if that was possible.
Okay, I missed that. And Vangenhoven?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Chair, you have 4 yeas and 1 absent.
All right, thank you. Well, we'll get the notice published on Saturday, and then we'll get the materials prepared for the Board of Commissioners for a public hearing on the 22nd. In the meantime, I'll get a hold of Benton Township and we'll schedule a time to get over there and get a concurrent approval from them as well. At which point Bert can start digging up dirt out there and start the project. It'll be a nice project. The last thing I have to discuss with you is, as I indicated, we have another brownfield plan that I anticipate is going to be in my hands here in the next, it could be the next day or so. And this is a plan that's going to require the concurrence of the state of Michigan, the Michigan Strategic Fund, because it's part of the planning capture of school taxes. The next strategic fund board meeting that we would be able to make would be May 25th. In order to meet that timeline, we would have to have the approvals of this plan done well in advance because it has to be forwarded up to the state for their review and comment. So we would normally be scheduled to meet, what would it be, May, I don't have my calendar in front of me, but the second Thursday of May. If we were to wait that long to address this new proposal, we would not meet the state of Michigan's deadline to get the materials in on. So I'm asking whether or not the board members would be available for a special meeting on April 29th at 1:30 in the afternoon. And then we can review this plan and start the approval process if it's something you're in support.
Will that be a Zoom, Dan?
I'm sure we'll still be doing stuff like Zoom at the point, yeah. I know the commissioners don't meet that day, so it's more on, I'm more concerned about your availability, but it's unfortunately, we've been working on this one for quite some time and it's come right down to the wire in order to get this done.
That date works for me, no problem.
Yeah, I'm available.
Right.
How about Mike?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, great. That helps a lot. That takes some pressure off. I'll go ahead and get, well, we don't have to do it right away, but I'll get, we'll change the notices and we'll notice a special meeting downstairs. So
Dan, will you be able to send that out a couple of days ahead of time like you did this one?
I absolutely will. I will send out whatever documentation we have, and this one's a little more complex, so I'll probably do a summary of it for you.
Okay.
Okay.
Good. Thank you.
We'll meet on the 29th to start the approval process. All right.
Mr. Chair.
Yep.
Just a little housekeeping on that. Dan, make sure that is given to the clerk for notification for special posting.
Yep.
Yeah, I had no doubt you already had that on your to-do list, but.
Yeah, we give it to the clerk, and we also contact IS, and they can post it on the webpage as well. So, we'll get that.
Perfect.
This is important enough that we'll make sure that the public meeting is held appropriately. So there's no question.
Yeah.
Well, I have nothing else other than to say, I mean, it's been a long time since we have initiated any new brownfield project.
Yeah.
Nice to want to initiate. I think within the next 3 weeks, we're going to have another one initiated. So this is
Good.
It's gonna
Good
be a
job, Daniel.
Yeah.
Good job. I have a question for you. The rumors are running high out in my area that Aldi's is moving in. Have you heard that?
I have heard rumors, but I can't. I have no direct knowledge of what.
Okay, Dick Stauffer is the one that made that statement that they're coming out here. So whatever.
Well, more competition is good. I don't know if you've done shopping there, but it's
Okay.
some pretty darn good prices there. So
Okay.
Miscellaneous, anything that anybody has they want to bring up to the group?
okay.
Nothing then. Make a motion or somebody make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion that we adjourn.
And I'll second.
All right, I'll see everybody on the 29th at 1:30.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a good month.
Thank you. All right, bye-bye.
Thanks, Dan.
Dan, thanks for going through all